Hey, what's going on, my fellow idiots? Welcome back to another episode of Idiot Proof Cooking. We're going to take it pretty easy today. I'm going to do a bread episode, and specifically I'm going to be making dinner rolls, which, when you say it doesn't sound like super exciting, but these dinner rolls are so delicious and so easy. You cook them in your cast iron skillet, so it's nice and easy. And you know what? Even though dinner rolls might not be the most exciting thing in the world, I tell you, when you need some small buns to make sliders, these are a perfect recipe. Or if it's like a holiday and the grocery stores aren't open and you need dinner rolls, hey, look no further. This is the recipe for you. So let's not beat around the bush in the intro here. Let's get into making these. Okay, so we're making some dinner rolls, keeping it nice and easy for today's episode. Now what we're going to do is make the dough in our stand mixer. So the first thing we're going to do is into the bowl of our stand mixer, add 1 cup of whole milk. Now I warmed mine up to about 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So into the bowl it goes. Once that's in, we're going to add in 2 1/4 teaspoons of dry active yeast. Again, into the bowl it goes. And then to make sure our yeast isn't dead, we're going to feed our yeast with a pinch of white granulated sugar and let it bloom for about 10 minutes. You want to make sure it gets nice and foamy. That means your yeast is alive. After about 10 minutes, it's time to add in 2 tablespoons of white granulated sugar to the yeasty milk mixture. Once that's been added, we're going to add in 1/4 cup of melted unsalted butter. Pour that in, and then we're going to add our flour, specifically 3 cups of bread flour. So carefully pour that into the bowl of your stand mixer. Don't spill it like I often do. Next in is a teaspoon of kosher salt, and then I'm going to throw in an optional teaspoon of garlic powder. Now you don't have to throw in the garlic powder if you don't want, but I think it's just going to make the dinner rolls taste slightly better. Last but not least, I'm going to crack in a large egg, and then I'm going to affix the dough hook on my stand mixer, drop the head, and I'm going to mix this all together for the next 8 to 10 minutes until we get a nice, smooth, and supple dough fully combined. That's what you're looking for. So after 8 to 10 minutes, lift the head of your stand mixer up, clean the dough hook off of any attached dough, and then remove your bowl, and you should have a nice, smooth, workable dough like that. Look at that. It looks perfect. It came out perfectly. So now all we're going to do is form the dough into a nice taut ball. So really just knead the dough with your hand, forming it into a ball. Press down on your work surface, twisting the dough ball until it forms a nice taut ball like I've done here. Give it a quick slap and set it aside for a moment and get yourself a mixing bowl to let the dough rise in. Now you can either spray your bowl down with some cooking spray like I've done here, or you can just throw in some olive oil. Either one would work fine. But make sure your bowl is nice and coated. Drop the dough ball in, give it a little swish. You want to make sure it's covered in your cooking oil. Then cover the bowl with some plastic wrap, and we're going to stick the bowl in a warm, dry spot for the next 1.5 to 2 hours to let the dough rise. Ideally, you're looking for it to double in size, so it usually takes 1.5 to 2 hours. After 2 hours, you can see my dough here has risen quite nicely, pretty much doubled in size, so it's time to start forming our buns. So take the plastic wrap off, and we're going to punch the dough to deflate it, and then just take it out of the bowl, and it's time to start cutting up some dinner rolls. Now, what we're going to be cooking the dinner rolls in is this 12-inch cast iron pan, and I'm just going to eyeball the dinner rolls. So I'm using my bench scraper here, and I'm just going to cut off a piece of dough about the size slightly bigger than a golf ball, and I'm just going to knead the dough in my hand until it forms a ball, and I'm going to drop it in my cast iron pan and repeat the process until I ran out of dough. After you've ran out of dough, you should have, anywhere from 15 to 17 dinner rolls, depending on how big you've made them. So now what we're going to do is let them rise for a second time. So cover your pan in some plastic wrap again, and go stick the pan in the same warm, dry spot you had used before to rise your dough, and let these little dough balls rise for another hour until they come out nice and puffy, looking like this. Look at that. They have risen quite nicely. So we're almost ready to bake these, but before we do, we're going to brush the dinner rolls down with a little bit of melted unsalted butter. So just make sure they're nice and coated in your butter, and then we're going to preheat our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and bake the dinner rolls for the next 20 to 25 minutes until they come out nice and golden brown and risen and puffy looking like that. Look at those. Those look awesome. Now, before we get into these, we're going to give them one final brush down with some more melted unsalted butter. Don't be sparing here. Make sure they're nice and covered. And then once that's done, I'm going to optionally top them with some finishing salt. So I have some smoked finishing salt here that I'm just going to throw over top of that. You don't have to do that if you don't want, but I think it's just going to make them taste better. But from there, we're going to let them cool down just for like the next 10 minutes or so because they're piping hot. After 10 minutes, it's time to get into these. And let me tell you, they smell so fresh and delicious. Look at those. Look at how delicious these look. And look at how flaky. And look at the steam's coming off them. So they're still pretty hot. But, oh, they are nice and soft on the inside. And just so good. Oh, man. Oh, and Rose is coming in for the taste test pretty quick today. Here you go, Rose. Oh yeah, she ate like 4 of these after the video. These were really good. They were super simple, but just so damn good. I highly recommend you try making them. They were so easy, like I can't stress that enough, and so good. But you know what, let's call it there. That was a lot of fun to make, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, why don't you drop me a comment, like the video, or even subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching Idiot Proof Cooking, and we'll see you again soon.